so after this weekend of long trailer reactions, we're finally getting to do our movie reviews.
Been waiting 3 days.
Yes.
3 days to do this.
Yes.
And we're finally getting down to it.
And right now we're going to be reviewing Star Trek Beyond.
Star Trek Beyond was the first of the new Star Trek movies to be directed by somebody other than J.J. Abrams. It was directed by Justin Lin, who had originally done the couple of Fast and Furious movies. Going into it, I was a little skeptical because I'm not really a fan of Fast and Furious at all. But it was produced by J.J. Abrams.
Mm-hmm.
And
Bad Robot.
As well as Bad Robot.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, me being a fan of the new Star Trek franchise, I mean, I thought I'd give it a chance because the trailers I'd seen and they looked very, very good. So we went and we saw the movie. And honestly,
it's really good.
In my opinion, it was the best of the new Star Trek movies. It was incredibly well done. It was long, but it was incredibly well done.
Yeah.
What I liked and what I want to talk about first is that you see a lot more crew interaction. Like, you see a lot more of the relationship between Spock and McCoy. You see a lot of the relationship between, like, Sulu and Uhura. Stuff that you don't see in the other movies, because a lot of times they're working together to complete a task. You don't really see how they interact with each other, which I kind of enjoyed, because a lot of the plot happens on a planet instead of on the actual Enterprise.
The reason why I also liked it as well is that all the other two Star Trek movies, I feel as though, was in order to set up this new Star Trek universe, because if you guys already know, this is kind of a rebooted universe of Star Trek, and it's a sequel, but it's also a reboot at the same time, because like it's almost as if the other films happen, but at the same time it's a different timeline. And I liked how those two other films set this timeline up, but now we're getting more focused on them actually going out and venturing into space. Like, the movie starts off, it's the crew living together, and just, there's a lot of socialness, and there's captain's logs and things like that. It's a lot like the original television show, whereas it starts off, it's like a captain's log and everything, and the crew is just living together as they're venturing off into space.
It starts out like you said, there's no bad guy at the beginning. It's just them, on their 5-year mission. If you'd seen the end of Into Darkness, they're going off on a 5-year mission just to explore. So it starts off with exactly that. They're just out exploring. Like, they don't have a set destination. They're just out looking around, which I kind of thought was cool, because like you don't have it's at least at the start, and it goes away very quickly. But at least at the start, they don't really have any bad guy, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah. And I don't know. For me, the only thing that this film does not have going for it, I mean, like we said, it's a really good film, but the only thing that it has going for it is that it is not directed by J.J. Abrams. There's less lens flares, and I know that's like me nitpicking, but like it's a good Star Trek film. It really is. It had that Star Trek vibe from the original series. I will say, and I think you were talking about this earlier, is that the plot is very familiar.
The plot, and I feel like you probably noticed this, but I mean, I was about on the edge of my seat, really enjoying the movie, and then about halfway through, I kind of did. Like, just kind of fell back in my chair because I had a realization. The plot is basically identical to the plot of the first Halo video game. It's a ship from Earth ventures off into the great beyond, is destroyed by an enemy, crash lands on a planet, and they have to basically stop an alien race from using an ancient superweapon to destroy the galaxy.
Halo.
Like,
I was not against the fact that, okay, so the Enterprise was crashing down. It was different. They don't have a ship in this one. They are stranded on this planet.
Completely destroy the Enterprise. Completely destroy the Enterprise.
So I wasn't against that whatsoever. I was like, okay, that's different. That's really cool. It's going to bring some, maybe questionable things about it, but, it's something different. And when he told me that, I was like, oh my god, this is Halo.
It makes so much sense. And it's like, literally, I guarantee you, anybody who sees this review is going to see the same thing. They're going to go watch the movie, they're going to be like, Steven's right.
Steven is so right. The one thing, like I said, what I really liked about this film is, the characters are there. The characters are back, obviously, because it's a sequel to Star Trek, and they play such an important role, especially Spock in this film, like Steven said, with his communication with McCoy in this one, and Anton Yelchin. Oh, man.
Yeah. Tragically, I mean, as most of you are probably familiar, he passed away prior to the release of this film. and he actually did play quite a significant part in the
did.
in the film. He accompanied Captain Kirk on a lot of the just little like ventures around the planet. And at the end, they had a very touching little tribute to him. They said the movie was for Anton. And interestingly enough, I read online that his role is not going to be recast. They are making a fourth Star Trek movie, if you're not familiar with that, but they're making a fourth movie. They renewed the contracts for Chris Pine and some of the other people, but they're not going to recast.
As far as we
Chekhov.
know now, I mean,
J.J. Abrams actually said it himself. He
Okay,
said they're
cool.
not going to recast Chekhov.
I
which is
don't know how they would
good,
handle that in the fourth one because, like, they probably either A, would have to kill him off in the fourth one, like maybe he died in duty, or B,
I don't think they
maybe
do
he
that.
went to his family.
I think what they might do is they just might not mention him. They might
Yeah,
just not
maybe,
touch on
or
him.
maybe he just like left to go see his family or something like that. So I'm sure they would like handle it in the best fashionable way, like maybe how they handled it with Paul Walker
Yeah.
in Fast and Furious. Like
And-
I'm sure they could do something.
And they did also, because another thing that I'm sure most of you know, Leonard Nimoy passed away as well. Mm-hmm. And they actually handled that quite nicely. They had
Yes.
they started the film, and fairly early on they mentioned to Commander Spock, they were like, they had him pulled aside or something like that, and they had a realization, Ambassador Spock had died. And
It was definitely really like that was a cool subplot as well. It's like how he was handling the death of his future self. Like I don't know. Like as McCoy said in the film, like I don't know how you feel. Like I don't know.
he doesn't
I
have feelings. He's a Vulcan.
well, I mean, just anybody, like anything. Like I could only imagine what you're feeling right now. Like it's a crazy concept, and that's actually one of the many things I like about this film is it's very character driven. I will say though that the one thing that I didn't particularly like, I didn't think it was like the most bad part about the film, but I didn't really particularly care about the new additions that they added to this film, character wise.
The new characters.
Yeah, like the white alien chick and everything.
I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
I feel like what they did was at the end of and we can't spoil it.
We're not gonna spoil it, but like let's just say like honestly,
She's not. I don't think she's going to be involved in future films.
she
like-
could be as like a crew member, but as far as her playing like a very significant role, I
don't
highly doubt it. But I mean, she was okay. It's just like nothing really eye opening. And the villain also, I did not particularly care for the villain whatsoever. This is one of those cases where we have a really good actor playing just a minor villain, really. I mean, we saw it in like Thor: The Dark World, even Ultron in like Avengers: Age of Ultron. Like I feel as though that was a like kind of cliche and just okay villain, and I feel as though that's kind of what we're seeing here right now.
I thought he was. I mean, I thought he was adequate for the role.
adequate. That's the word I'm using is adequate.
It's a new villain. We can't spoil. There's a big reveal at the end, is like to who he is. So we're not going to spoil that for you. But he does. In my opinion, I thought he did the job pretty well. I mean, he's basically your basic disposable movie villain.
Yeah, I feel as though like they were making this film and they realized there's not really much to our villain, and kind of like at the end of the film, they added a little spark to it. Like, oh, what if we like wrote this in? Like, I think they tried at the ending of the film, but it just didn't kind of work.
And it's
like, okay. Like,
it kind of works. But another thing that I want to point out, and this is unrelated, it's back to the Spock thing, but a lot of the people that are watching this film, like I know my parents, my mother especially is a big Star Trek fan from the original series, and they had at the very end of the movie Commander Spock going through Ambassador Spock's personal effects, and in his personal effects he pulled out a picture of the original crew with William Shatner and George Takei from the original franchise, which I thought was really, really cool. A nice little nod back to the roots of the franchise. And I told my mom, like, as soon as I left the theater, I was like, you guys got to see this movie. Like, you're gonna get that, and you're gonna get goosebumps and stuff like that. So I thought that was really nice to kind of spark the interest of some of the older Star Trek fans that maybe haven't fallen in love with the franchise yet, because it is new and it's new actors and it's different.
yeah. Like I guess kind of like my little sum up of all this is like it pays a lot of respect to the original series. It really does. As far as it, I don't know, contending up to the the first and the second film. I don't think it's good as the first and second film, but like as it by itself, I think it's good. And it felt like it was like, an extended episode of Star Trek, which I really liked and I really enjoyed. And, seeing these characters again, I was just super excited to see, Spock and McCoy and Captain Kirk. I was really excited to see those characters come back, and that's what I wanted. I am a little upset that, like, J.J. Abrams didn't direct this, but hey, if he...
It was still very
he was working
well
on
done.
Star Wars, like,
It was still very well done. Justin Lin did a fantastic job. I thought, despite what you said, I thought it was the best out of the new Star Trek movies. If you haven't checked it out, I highly, highly recommend it. It's probably the best movie in theaters right now, and we saw Lights Out too, and honestly I think this was a lot better than Lights Out. I really enjoyed this movie.
We'll do a review of Lights Out too, but like as far as like a general Star Trek goes, like this was really good. I really enjoyed it. This could have been really bad, but it wasn't. It was actually a really good movie that paid tribute to the original series, and I would like to see more, most definitely. And they're already in talks to make a fourth film, and I will definitely check it out. So guys, thank you so much for checking out our review of Star Trek Beyond. We really enjoyed it. Comment down below what you think of the movie. If you've seen it yet, like the video, share it, and please subscribe to Pixel Talk if you haven't yet for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, and gaming content.
Get to see more Corbin, get to see more me, get to see more cool stuff.
Thank you guys so much, as always. I am Corbin Stuckey.
I'm Stephen Van Ostenbridge.
And this is Pixel Talk.